Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the Brightworks and another match of Beyond All Reason. Sure, I hope you're having a fabulous day. Sometimes I say that at the end of the video, but I really feel like I should say it at the beginning. Today we're going to be taking a match that was played, or taking a look rather, at a match that was played on Kolmogorov Remake. This is a bit of a strange map, not one we see team games played on all too often, or big team games played on, but today that's exactly what we're going to be having a look at here. Now, in the blue corner, spawning as a Cortex commander and wearing a Viking helmet, you know him and you love him, goes by the name of 45 True Skill Lost Dead Man. Gonna be showing us what he's got here, silver chevrons and hailing from the Americas. Gonna be showing us what exactly he is up to on this already wacky map. We've already got a battle going on over here, all right, quite nice. Yeah, some LLT forest spam from Pastapolo and Menace. But our red team leader gonna be team working up a little bit of a lab shenanigan over here, working with Narnut, goes by the name of Jamakis. Definitely gonna be cooking up something interesting here as they both share a laboratory and start up the production immediately. Like I said, this map is a little bit small for 8 players, so it's interesting to see what these players are gonna do. Yeah, Meadows forced offline right here, and indeed it will be Pastapolo who wins the middle of the map here. Yeah, nice. Very, very nice for the blue team. An explosive start, to say the very least. Pyrotech very all alone in the very back line here. Going to be going for some of that Cortex air shenanigans. Always good to see. Those Shuriken, very powerful. Bombers, also quite good. Kolmogorov Remake, it's a bit of a weird one. I have a weird gripe with this map. It's just the fact that there's so much wasted space over here. Essentially what this space is good for is parking bombers and fighters. Like you can see the rush distance for a fighter or a bomber is essentially nothing. Elmer Fudd here. Very extremely prone to bombing. Likewise, Narnuk and Jamakis. Everybody on these coastlines here, very, very prone to being bombed very early on. It's a bit of a weird, kind of a way for a map to be designed, but I guess it does mean that the air player can have a little bit more of an active role in gameplay, which I suppose is something good to look forward to. So maybe we'll see some early bombings or something like that. Lost Dead Man also going for the Cortex Air, by the way, so we do have a mirror matchup as far as the skies are concerned. Pro Shaman moving forward here. We do have a couple of grunts being blasted down by that commander, a couple of rocket bots coming up here to try and push back the hot pink Menace. Meadows doesn't even have a lab up yet, so just relying on the units of the teammates. We also have a big old scuffle going on in all sorts of directions. We have ticks and grunts and pawns and everything else under the sun, trying desperately to get some damage done. Here come the grunts. Ooh, causing a little bit of friendly fire there. Can we take down the mechs? The mech's absolutely the target here. And both of them go down. All right, excellent. I think with these 3 grunts doing all that damage, yeah, they're gonna get some wind turbines here too. Oh, they get the 3rd mechs and the wind turbines fall. Oh my goodness, that is some efficiency right there for those frontline grunts that have ran all the way across the map. Eventually the Shuriken will shut it down, but my goodness, that puts Pro Shaman on a terrible, terrible footing right here. Gonna need some extreme support from the teammates if the purple commander does want to get back into this game. Pastapolo so aggressive with the forward push, but I think it's worth it. Yeah, you send those rocket bots forward and eventually those LLTs are going to crumble, and there's not a whole lot you can do once you're in that position. You really can only retreat. Yeah, I love the red team's aggression. The red team definitely, it feels like they're putting a whole lot more out on the floor. Definitely winning this early game middle metal spot was, well, huge for the blue team. But this lower side where Elmer, Fudd, and Florio are 2 versus 1 has not really received the pressure that I think it demands. You can see the lime green commander as well as the cyan commander both went for a single lab, and the reason why that was a little less successful than, for instance, over here is because, of course, 2 economies are going into producing out of a single lab over here, as opposed to 2 economies going into 2 different labs, right? Essentially, you get all the metal of the lab put out on the field and being useful as army, and that eventually spirals in your favor. Resbot trying to pick things up. There go the Shurikens to catch all this. Lovely, lovely stuff. Resbot does fall right here, though. Losing that Resbot definitely hurts. We got to keep all this alive. There is some anti-air towers here, though, so those Shuriken are going to be forced to back off. No longer effective once the anti-air, the light anti-air, is blasting them away. Not completing this second tower right here for Pastapolo. A little bit of a miss micro, I would say. Our vehicle is going to be efficient enough to stop this army. I don't really think so. Yeah, we just need to keep the aggression going for Narnuk and Jamakis, and I think this is going to be A-okay. We're getting some metal extractors up and running right now, and that's always lovely. 2.0 metal extractors. Nothing to write home about in Singularity, but obviously once you get a couple of them up and running, and they've been up and running for a good little while, you can really start to build up quite a tremendous economy. Bombers coming up right here in the backline. Pyrotech getting ready to do some early onset bombing. I saw a bomber produced by Lost Dead Man. Didn't see it get much value out here, though. There was a transport. We're going to move the commander forward. Okay, probably worthwhile. Yeah, it's about time we put that commander on the front line, start getting it to work. Here we go. Finally some aggression from this lane that's been an advantage for the blue team this entire match here. Some of these cyan rocket bots are going to finally put some pressure on the hot pink commander. This is excellent. It might be what we need to push back these forces right here, but my goodness, 3 versus 1 to actually deal with these bots right now. Oh my goodness. Pasta Polo doing a fabulous job of pushing back the blue Menace. Unafraid Cookie, Narnak, and Jamak is also holding the front lines and reclaiming all that metal, putting it back in their pockets. Very, very cost efficient here. Now we do have the thugs up on the high ground, and those can be very good too. Especially with that high ground advantage, they can fire away from such long range. You can see they're able to fire away at these thugs on the low ground, and those thugs on the low ground unable to retaliate. Pro Florio moving these Rocketeers forward. I think it's about time. Yeah, radar goes up here, and I think that's exactly what we've been waiting for. There we go. As soon as that radar tower goes up, the rocket bots indeed do start to fire. We need to apply this pressure, and we need to apply this pressure quick. Pepsi is going to try and come deal with all this, but it does leave MDXD a little bit exposed. There's those bombers coming in, by the way. They take out a huge portion of the power that was available right here for Pro Florio, right in the middle of building some build power, too. That's a very energy expensive thing to be working on, and especially for your power to go out right during the middle of that. Definitely quite costly. Enough support here has been lent for the, well, both pink commanders, Metal Spice as well as Pasta Polo here, as it was written. Lisan al-Gaib. Or maybe it's a reference to like the Spice Girls or something like that. Either way, Metal Spice going to be contributing here right alongside Pasta Polo, who is being pushed back on the front lines, but only to deal with the commander that has now just gone down over on the right. Powder Pink Commander moving in immediately to eat up all that metal, and sure, why wouldn't you? Get that production up and running, ripping and rolling. I think you're going to be in a fabulous spot. Commander goes down over here as well. Oh no. Yeah, it looks like the blue team lost a commander. No, sorry, that was the hot pink commander went down right there. Okay, that's an excellent catch for the blue team. Could certainly be the difference that they need. Yeah, Metal Spice has to be careful here. You stick around too long and that damage does accumulate eventually. Meanwhile, the vehicles have done a decent job of pushing these vehicles back. That's the thing about the vehicles, though, is once they go down, they leave such an expensive corpse, and if the bot player ever manages to claim any tremendous portion of those corpses, it really can turn in any moment. A lot of these vehicles well in need of some repairs. A couple of tanks going down, though. Every volley, they fall even further here, and Jamakis knows about it. He knows this is essentially a time-gated mission, though, because once these vehicles build up in enough numbers, there's not really going to be anything that he can do. So the aggression has to be high from the very get-go. Thugs pushing in from Sentient Waffle are doing a great job right here. We do have Lost Advance Commander, which was transported up the front lines here to try and mitigate some of the pressures. Pro Shaman receiving a little massage in the back line here, making sure that commander stays nice and up to task, and there we go. Shurikens jumping on top of some of these units right here. Love that play from Lost Dead Man, using the Shuriken to shut down the units and then sending the commander in for the D-gun. All in all, though, the metal advantage, well, the economy advantage is in the red team's favor ever so slightly, mostly because of the reclaim over here on the left-hand side. We do have a heavy laser tower coming up here as well, actually completed over there as well. It's quite nice. Rocketeers and especially Shell Shockers can deal with that fairly efficiently, but certainly tricky to push into that. The heavy laser tower outranges rocket bots. It does not outrange Shell Shockers, though, so your only option to, you know, efficiently siege that unit would be, or that structure rather, would be to go for some of those vehicles. Luckily, it's the one side of the map that actually has vehicles. Everywhere else is bots, and it makes a lot of sense to go bots here. As we've well seen, the bots can fight up, over, and around the hills. Feed my anxiety, got a bunch of the metal from over here. That's always good to see as well. Feeding some of that metal back to his team. Pyrotech sending the commander forward with the transport. Trying to get it up to the front line somewhere. What a back and forth brawl, my goodness. Sentient Waffle holding this high ground. I love to see that. I think this high ground is super important. This is one of the few spots where I wouldn't even mind seeing an aggravator or a, for instance, a gauntlet. Not that we're anywhere near that point in the game at this part. Already a T2 lab has come up right here, and we have Sheldon's coming up. As far as I'm aware, this also hasn't been scouted by the red team. Yeah, we're actually unaware of the T2 transition right here. This could actually catch the red team completely off guard. They have a forward T2 lab, but that forward T2 lab is obviously a lot more prone to snipage than the rear T2 lab back here. A little bit of spectator ping over there. Thought it was something important, doesn't look like it. Always difficult to differentiate. This map very difficult. I have to keep a high perspective so that we can actually see over the hills right here. You kind of lose the weird terrain that you're fighting over, or the perspective for which that weird terrain impacts these units that are moving forward. There you go. You can see these rocket bots trying desperately to push up this hillside, but it is really awkward to try and hold this. Jamak is being handed a whole bunch of units over here. Not bad. Adamo 9W getting down a whole portion of that army, though. That's a lot of medium tanks going down right now. For the time being, though, the Lavender Commander has tons and tons of metal. Oh, we're not producing units. Oh, no, a little bit of an APM stall right there from Adamo 9W. Has actually forgotten to produce some units. That is a tremendous bummer. We have Sheldon's coming up very slowly in the backline. We're going for those T2 mexes. Probably well worth it at this point, but yeah, getting those T2 units on the front line might be even more important at this point. Plus the Polo and Feed My Anxiety, gonna trade commanders right there, embracing each other in a nuclear explosion. Pop C is sticking around though, so we have the ability to reclaim. Yeah, there we go. A couple of res bots from middle space, going to be quick to jump on top of all that juicy reclaim, and you can see the red economy shoots up immediately as soon as those res bots start tearing apart those commanders. Really nicely done. Yeah, I think that trade was definitely well worth it. Single Sheldon does not a convincing push make. It's a little bit kind of a tactical disadvantage to show that Sheldon so early, actually. Revealing that you have your T2 transition up and running might mean that your enemies get a little bit more aggressive here. Certainly it should. We should probably see a couple of Fiends push forward right here. You only have so much time before those Sheldons get into critical mass, and then eventually they're actually really difficult to shut down, at least efficiently anyways. They can kite so well once they're in a big snowball. It'd be very, very difficult to shut those down, right? Oh, nice connections right there from those rocket bots. Obviously just basically luck, but this is a solid composition. I mean, it's just Resbot Rocketeer, or sorry, Resbot Aggravator, the Cortex Rocketeer. But it's a timeless classic. It's one of those builds that just always works because it's so sturdy and so efficient. You can capitalize on little victories turn into monumental scale, complete overhauling wins. Yeah, and MDXD knows it. He has been pushed back. Radar tower goes down over here. Here come the bombers, trying to equalize the fight. Ooh, they predicted those would be continuing to move forward though, but they certainly didn't. That's at the very least going to reveal those bombers a little bit earlier here. Air pull is immediate, so at the very least we're going to see these fighters coming over in this direction. Bot lab gets taken out here, but at least the fighters are on the bombers immediately. It might mean that we take out quite a few of them here. Okay, another big strafing run right here on the power production for Proflorio, actually sending the Cyan Commander quite a little ways back as far as the tech ladder goes. Not the end of the world, though. Certainly, if those bombers had gone around the side here and been completely unscouted into the backline, they could have done probably a little bit more damage. At the very least, would have had much less time for those fighters to be pulled. As it was, an excellent reaction right there from Lost Deadman. Certainly one of those things that air players receive quite a bit of flack for. Being slow on the pull when bombers are spotted. Lost Deadman showing us that he's got more than enough APM to manage the bombers, manage the fighters, manage everything. Keep it all up to spec. Now, Stinky Jamakis has already got himself a nice and beautiful Sheldon push going on over here, and this is the problem I was talking about with those Sheldon. Once they hit a snowball amount, if you ever want to jump on top of them, I'm making a live demo here. If you ever want to jump on top of them, they can just turn around and high heel it back away from wherever they're pushing, just like this. They can kite almost indefinitely against almost anything in the game. There's not very many things that are, well, if we're just going to throw the tanks into the commander and get them all deganned, that's an even quicker way to meet your demise. This is bad, cries out Lost Deadman, and I couldn't agree more. This is certainly starting to look quite sour here. Adamo 9W stuck on T1 tech with no convenient way to transfer. We have a couple of shurikens, 3 shurikens, not sure how effective those are going to be. Anti-air goes up pretty much immediately here for Jamakis, but I think the Cortex Commander's anti-air laser will be quite sufficient in order to shuttle this down. A couple of thugs moving forward here, trying to catch some of these Sheldon over here. That's tricky. If those thugs do actually manage to jump on top of this, they can trade out relatively efficiently. I don't want to say efficiently, because it really isn't, but it's more efficient than any other fight you're going to get against T2 units. Jamakis' commander goes down right there, at the very least reducing the chance that a D-gun will be connecting against any more of those units right here, but really Adamo, very short supply on those units. Big old breakthrough over here. Yeah, capitalizing on the low power right now from the Cyan Commander, or for the Cyan Commander, means that those pawns and thugs and just about everything else are going to be able to move on forward. Sorry, the Mesas, not the thugs. Meanwhile, the Sheldon, yeah, they survived. That medium tank tried to jump on top of them. The Resbots here included to reclaim all this mess as well. And that is going to be the collapse of the Lavender player. Retreating the commander might seem weird at this point, but there's really not much a T1, well, a commander. I guess there's not tech level commanders. The commander can't really do all too much against those T2 units, yeah. Especially the Sheldon. They have too much range and they're too fast. Nice bombing run right here, though. Yeah, Lost Deadman going for the throat. Hey, you know what? If there's a way to come back, it's going to be with some stellar bombing. Certainly taking out a bunch of the mexes, taking out a bunch of the windmills, taking out the anti-air player, of course, is also quite a viable option. Wind turbines are spread out quite a lot over here, making this an inconvenient target to bomb here, but we are spreading the bombers out, so at the very least, we're trying to disperse the damage a little bit here. Is it going to be enough, though, is the question. We already have more and more T2 units moving forward. As soon as these hit the ridge right here, oh no, the Sheldons up on the ridge are going to be terrible for Sentient Waffle. Yeah, that's going to be killer. Bombers taking out a significant portion of the wind turbine economy right here for the yellow commander. Although not most of it, actually. There's still quite a lot of wind turbines down, or up on that northern section there as well, so not the end of the world. The anti-air towers are thick here. Yeah, everybody had more than enough time, and you know what? Despite that killer bombing run, I think the red team still is in this. Yeah, the blue team just doesn't have the economy right now. Losing these metal extractors up here and not having them as T2 metal extractors definitely starting to hurt the blue team quite a lot. The commander goes down, and that's those Sheldon firing away on the high ground. Shuriken pull will catch a whole bunch of them, but what good are the Shurikens if you don't have any way to capitalize on it? We do have some Sheldon here, though. Sheldon certainly one option for capitalizing on the Shuriken, paralyzing literally everything on the front lines here. My goodness. Well, if you're looking for an efficient fight that's about as good as it's ever going to get. Yep, Shuriken making very, very short work of all of this here. Fiends running by and blasting down basically anything that they can find. Yeah, very nicely done. Anti-air bots, Manticores coming out right now. Going to be more than enough, obviously, to shoot down a couple of Shuriken, despite them being a little bit abysmal as far as performance goes against basically anything else. Obviously, Shuriken, the thinnest little paper planes in the book here. Not going to be much trouble for those T2 anti-air bots. Pro Florio actually calls for a resign vote. The entire side of that map has been handed over to Elmer Flood here. Going to be giving it a T2 try. Sentient Waffle launches an attack here, marching forward. Fiends burning their way across the front line defenses right here. They are going to find that heavy laser tower. Hey, you know what? Heavy laser tower putting in the work. Yeah, very nicely done. Heavy laser tower actually locking that down quite nicely. Oh no, the pawns have jumped on top of the Sheldons here as well. These are pawns from the Tank Commander Pap C. Going to be going up against the Sheldons right here from Sentient Waffle. Bunch of Shuriken jumping on top of these Sheldon once more. Yeah, you know what? These Shuriken have been so efficient. This really is the trade that we need in order to come back into this game with a significantly lessened economy right now. These are the fights that the blue team has to try and take. They're not convenient fights, and they're not really ordinary fights. They're not even fights, and they're not fair fights. But playing dirty is sometimes the only way to get yourself back from a terrible, terrible situation. Gunslingers absolutely ravaging this line over on the right-hand side. Or trying to, at the very least. They are effectively ravaging it slowly but surely. Very slowly but surely. T1 units still in mass here. Down goes the T2 lab. Sentient Waffle taps out of the game here. And it does not take long for the remaining blue commanders to yield to the weight of the red Menace. Beautiful, beautiful back and forth there. I really couldn't have called it until that breakthrough up on the northern side. Those Sheldon putting in so much work right there and eventually overwhelming the blue team. Despite the Shuriken plays, despite the bombing runs, despite all of it, the the red team manages to claim victory in today's match of Beyond All Reason. What a cool match. I love watching these pros go head to head.